Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. So in today's video I fancied going into a little bit more of a blue-green vibe, obviously because that's what I'm wearing on my eyes. Ever since I was sent this Morphe Glitter Nut palette, I was desperate to use this green sparkle. So I finally came up with an idea and incorporated it into this blue-green blended blown out moment. I will have to give a little disclaimer, this is not a one palette look. I dipped into about 4 palettes in total for this look. So yeah, if you would like to see how I created this eye look and what products I used, then just keep on watching. I've tied my hair up because we are doing something technical today and we mean business and we just don't want any distractions, even though my baby hair's already distracting me. Starting off this tutorial with the P. Louise base, obviously, what else would we be using? This is in the shade number 2, fully coating that on my little brush just to be able to carve out underneath the brow. We're going to be winging this look out today, so I'm definitely going to be taking this out onto my temples. Hold on. Okay, the toilet flushing next door has stopped. We are winging this look out today, so I'm applying the base out onto my temples. Just giving you a heads up today, I have 4 different palettes in front of me. If you came here for a one palette look, you've come to the wrong place. Got to drink your tea before it goes cold. Okay, so let's get started on the eyeshadow. So the first palette that I'm going to be dipping into is the Be Perfect and Stacey Marie Carnival palette. This is the extra large version, obviously, because I'm struggling to fit it in the frame. But I'm taking the shade Nuke, which is Nuke, which is this dark green here. Any dark green will do, because you just want it to be the darkest blend. Obviously got that all over my fingers because I'm a mess. Taking it on my trusty little definer brush. I'm surprised this brush isn't ruined by now because I literally use this for every single colourful look that I do. And what I'm going to be doing is we've got a gradient of where it starts off from green and blending it into blue. I'm just going to be creating that shape out with the darkest colours first. The green is obviously on the inner corner, so we just want to map that shade out, and I take it to about the centre of the eye, and then that will be where we blend into the blue colour. I'm going to build up that colour until you're happy with how dark it is. Don't worry if it looks a little bit messy underneath or if you have any fallout. So before I go on to the blue shade, I'm going to straight away buff off that green. A, because we're blending into a blue, and B, because I want to buff out that edge slightly to go on to the next shade. This green in here does blend out to be a little bit more on the turquoise blue side, so it does blend really nicely into the blue, but if you want it to be a little bit more green, you could go in with a little bit of black or just a different dark green shade. Whatever you want to do. And then I'm taking the shade Stormy Night, so already dipping into a new palette. This is the Beauty Bay palette. I prefer this navy blue to the navy blue that's in the Carnival palette, and I'm taking that on the exact same brush. I've not swapped brushes. And we're just going to be carrying on from that green, creating the shape. And what I like to do before winging it all the way out above, I like to connect that kind of outer corner first. I find it a lot easier to connect up that top blend when I've already done the bottom part, if that makes sense. Now I've created the shape, I'm going to add a lot more depth into that blue, because right now it's looking quite wishy-washy. Stop doing that. And if you feel like you need a little bit more control over your brush, hold it a lot closer to the bristles rather than at the bottom of the handle. So adjusting your grip on your brush makes a whole lot of difference. So if I was to hold it at the very bottom of the handle here, I've got a lot less control than what I do when I'm holding it really close. I'm just going to buff off that navy shade and blend out that edge. I'm going to do it along the bottom part as well. So I'm literally just swapping out the palettes. The next shade that I'm going to go on with is called The Hype from the Carnival palette, which is this green one here. Essentially you just want to be going up in lightness with the shades. So start off with your darkest and then get lighter as you go up. So I'm taking this on a Morphe and Jaclyn Hill JH52 brush, and this is just a smaller one to buff out that darker blend, applying it straight on top of where we buffed out that dark green. Again, just going to buff off that colour, and we're blending out that edge, ready for the final shade. I'm swapping between brushes for the second blend just because it's a whole lot easier, so you don't blend the two colours in together and it just becomes one big mess. This is a slightly different brush, but it's literally exactly the same. I don't know why it's different. I mean, they look identical. I guess the only difference is that the green one is probably ever so slightly bigger than the blue one, but they're basically the same. So I'm taking the shade Soft Spot from the Carnival palette, and I'm going to buff out the edge of that navy, blending it into the middle part of the blue. And I'm doing circular motions for this as well, rather than backwards and forwards. Don't worry if it doesn't look super blended straight away, or if you lose that darker shade to begin with, because we will be going back in with each colour just to make sure that you can still see every single shade, and also along the bottom part here. Before we blend out that final colour, I'm just going to reinforce those dark shades with the first little brush. So going back in with the shade Nuke, and then back in with the shade Stormy Night from the Beauty Bay palette. Just keep dipping backwards and forwards until you're happy with the blend. Taking the shade Ecstasy from the Carnival palette, which is a beautiful neon green. Taking this on a Morphe M506 brush, and this is the last colour to blend out the green. And I'm going to blend it into the middle of the eye there, just so it blends seamlessly in with the final blue shade as well. I'm taking the exact same brush, but this is just a different one with the blue. I'm taking the shade Daydream from the Beauty Bay palette. This one is really quite pigmented and a little bit powdery, so I'm going on really lightly with this one. So I think I'm happy with that blend. I'm going to go ahead and do my little cut crease. Well, it's not a little cut crease, is it? With my trusty, disgusting lip balm. Makeup wipe time. Only for cut creases though, not for your face. Okay, so as my base for the cut crease, obviously going to be using P. Louise and Mama Mitchell Blank Canvas paint. As usual, just stamping the product onto the lid. I'm only going to be applying a thin layer all the way along the line of the cut crease, and then I'll be blending it down with a little brush. Does anyone else hold their breath when they do that? Because stressful work. Just blending it out now with just a little brush. This brush makes it so much easier to blend it into the shadows that we've already laid down in the outer corner. Otherwise, if we don't blend it, it will go a little bit patchy, especially if you're going to be applying other shadows on top to blend it out. There is probably other ways, better ways, easier ways to do this eye makeup look, but this is just what I've found is easiest and best for me and for my eye shape. So any techniques that I'm showing you, it's literally just the way that I do my eye makeup. Don't feel like that I'm suggesting that this way is the only way to do your eye makeup, because you've got to experiment with your eye shapes, you've got to experiment with your product. Just do what is best for you. These are just techniques that I found that work for me. So in order to create the kind of gradient blend that I've got going on the other side, I'm going to be laying my colours straight on top of the blank canvas base, and we're going to be kind of blending them on top of each other to create a very seamless blend. So the first shade I'm going to be taking is obviously Stormy Night. I want it to come from that outer corner so it all blends really, really seamlessly in together. I'm dragging this in a diagonal direction along the lash line, but the colours are then going to be going vertically along the lid afterwards, if that makes sense. So I am dragging this rather than patting. And what I want to do is, when I'm looking straight ahead in front of me into the mirror, I kind of want it to be a very straight line, rather than like a little curved line, which would probably naturally happen with a lot of eye shapes. Just gonna have a look at myself straight on rather than raising my brows, because obviously that's gonna create a different shape. In the moment that we relax, it's gonna look slightly different. So now I've laid that colour down. The shades that I've got on the lid are shimmers. The first shimmer shade that I'm gonna be using is called Riviera from the Beauty Bay palette. I'm taking this on a flat brush. I find when applying colours onto a cut crease, it's a lot easier using a synthetic flat brush like this one, because it's very, very thin and you can get really, really close up to that cut crease line without going over it or making it look a little bit fuzzy. With shimmers, I like to pat them onto the lid rather than swiping. To be honest, I don't really think it makes a huge difference. I just prefer applying them like that. And I am slightly going on top of that navy shade and the outer corner. I find layering your colours on top of each other is key to getting them to be a completely smooth blend. So if I was to go on with my next shade and I was to start that next colour exactly on that line and then go to the next shade, it would become very blocky. So what I like to do is I will apply my next colour almost over the top of that blue shimmer, so it blends a lot more seamlessly. It will make sense as I'm doing it, I hope. So the next shade I'm going to be taking is the one next to it in the Beauty Bay palette. This is called Splash. It's just a lighter shimmery blue. And as I say, I'm just applying that straight on top of that colour, so not at the edge, straight on top of it. The next shade that I'm going to be using is called Inspire Change, which is a lighter blue from the MORPHE Glisten Up palette. This was part of their Pride range. Let me see how awkwardly I can hold this. But it's just a softer, lighter blue to be able to blend into the green. So taking the same brush, all I do in between colours is I just rub it off onto that kitchen roll in front of me just to take off the excess. And then as I've got excess of the product, I just slightly bring it into that shade before to layer it on top, so it blends a lot smoother. If you feel like you've lost a little bit of that colour, just go back in with it and add it on top and just keep blending it until you're happy with it. The next shade I'm going to be taking is from the Beauty Bay palette. This is called Frosted Lime, which is obviously a shimmery green, and I'm going to be taking this all the way along the lid. Just to blend these two colours together, the light blue and the green, I'm going to dip back into that blue shade and pop it on top of where they meet. And then the last palette that I'm going to use, I promise, is the Morphe Icy Fantasy palette. So you can see that this one's got a lot of nice shimmery shades in it. I'm going to be dipping into this one here. It's almost like a blue with a green reflex, so it's that perfect colour to pop in the middle. And I'm just taking that on the same brush. So the last shade that I'm going to be using is the shade called Live Your Life, which is this green one here. So I'm just using the same brush with that green shade. I'm going to pack this on and get as much of that green glitter on as I possibly can get. So I'm just going to wipe away all of that fallout underneath the eye. Don't want any green glitter in my foundation. One tip I have for when taking off or removing glitter, so later on when I want to take this off, I would use a little bit of sellotape and I'll kind of try and stamp off most of that glitter on the sellotape before wiping it away. I'm just using another little definer brush with the shade Illicit. I'm going to blend this into the outer corner. As we get closer towards the inner corner, I'm going to use a gel eyeliner. But on the outer corner, I just want to use a little bit of shadow so it's more smoky and blended rather than like a block eyeliner shade. And the gel eyeliner I'm going to be using is the Longwear Gel Eyeliner by Bobbi Brown. This is obviously in the shade Black. I'm just using this on a angled eyeliner brush. Adding a little bit of mascara to that as well. So I'll be finishing off the under eyes after I have applied my foundation. So I'm just going to quickly do my brows before my base makeup. Just using my trusty soap brows. So we're just brushing these up so they look fuller. I don't know about anyone else, but this is also really refreshing as well. It's very cooling through my brows. So I'm going to be using the Morphe Brow Cream. This is in the shade Hazelnut. I really love this colour for my brows. It's not too red. It's not too cool. So what I like to do with my brows, I like to create a really sharp line where my P. Louise base was applied before, and then I like to feed the brush through, creating hair-like strokes all the way through the brow where I am lacking in the hair department, and sometimes I might brush the spoolie through the brows just to soften it a little bit more as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do my base makeup off camera. Nothing has changed since my previous video, so if you want to know what I use on my base, I will leave a link in the description below to watch my previous video, and then I will be right back to show you how we finish off the under eyes. I just feel like once you've got your base on and your lashes, it just all comes together. So obviously we need to finish off underneath the eyes, and I'm going to be doing the exact same but obviously underneath. So we're going to do the dark navy blue all the way into the green underneath. So quite simple just to finish off. Taking that same brush that we started off with, I'm going to go back in with the shade Stormy Night and connect it up to the outer corner. The only thing I would say when doing the lower lash line, if you've just done your base, is obviously tap off the excess like mad, because you don't want any of that fallout on your face. Just going to take it up to the centre and stop, and then we go in with the shade Nuke. Taking the second brush that we used, going back in with the shade Soft Spot. Oh, I see some fallout. Hold on, hold your brushes. God. Okay, we're back in business. Just connect that up to the outer corner. Obviously want everything to blend really seamlessly and just carry on as if it never stopped. And then the last blue shade, which was Daydream from the Beauty Bay palette, and Ecstasy from the Carnival palette. Obviously you bring it down as low as you want it. Nice, I think I'm happy with that. So I think I'm going to do a colour in the waterline as well. So for the lower waterline, I'm actually going to use the P. Louise and Mama Mitchell paint in the shade Nitro along the waterline. So I really like using the paints in the waterline with a brush like this one that's completely flat. And I don't even squeeze any out on the back of my hand, I just dip straight into the little tube. I have to pull my lower waterline down. Yeah, I think that brings it all together, the blue in the waterline. And I'm just going to apply some mascara to my lower lashes as well. And then in the inner corner, I actually used that palette that I just reviewed in my last video. I used the highlighter in the inner corner because I loved it. It's called Pure Illusion from Rude Cosmetics. And I'm going to pop that in the inner corner. Use a little bit of setting spray. Put a little bit on my brow bone as well. I'm going to be using a lip pencil from Bobbi Brown and also a lipstick from Bobbi Brown as well. This is in the shade Cocoa. And then I'm going to use the shade Pink Nude from their Luxe Lip collection. And then we want to finish off with a little bit of setting spray. This is just MAC Fix Plus, the original one. Right, now time to sort out this hair because this is not it. Oh, I feel so much better now I've done my hair. So this is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. I am loving that green sparkle. I can't stop looking at it. I am obsessed. As I said earlier in the video, I am going to be linking the previous video in the description box because I did the exact same base routine in this video as well, using the exact same products, following the exact same steps. So that will be linked in the description, as will my other social media platforms where you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well if you want to. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments. It does really help me out and I really appreciate all your love and support. It means the world to me. And don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye!